All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another video. And obviously, I have a guest today. Her name is Joanna Marsh from Ballet Librarian on Instagram. And our video today is really going to be a discussion about what it's like to be an adult recreational ballet dancer. So I'm thrilled to have Joanna on because she found her passion for ballet as an adult and has really just dove in, what? That's not even a word. Dived in to the ballet community over the last couple of years. So, welcome, Joanna. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your perspective, and your story. Well, thank you in advance.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course, what inspired you to start dancing as an adult?
Okay, so I'll try to keep it short. It's a little complicated. I started dancing regularly when I was 23. So that was a little over 8 years ago. But I did have my first class when I was 16. My sister took me to see Robert Altman's movie, The Company. I know a lot of people find that movie super boring, but I thought it was like the most riveting thing I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
completely enthralled. Like, it really opened my eyes to what ballet really is. It didn't occur to me like that I could take dance classes or anything at this point. But about a year later, I went to a party kind of on a whim. I was not going to go, but I went last minute, and I'm so glad I did because I met up with some old friends there, and they invited me to take like a summer beginning ballet, like a summer session with them. It was like a ballet basics class. Had all ages in it, but mostly little girls. I really loved it from day one. I kind of like felt like I had found a missing part of myself. It sounds so like cliche, but I really did.
Yeah.
I just took to it immediately. And then one by one, all those friends kind of dropped out, and I ended up staying for the year. So I took one academic year of beginning ballet at 16 and 17. And then I stopped for various reasons. Like, I kind of realized everyone my age was way ahead of me. It's like girls doing endless fouette turns on point, and I'm like, in class with a bunch of 11-year-olds, and I didn't really have the confidence to keep going with it. I didn't know what to do with it. So I stopped, and then went to college still, like, was really interested in ballet, and I ended up taking a couple of dance courses my senior year. One of which was history of dance, and I love history, and really got into studying it academically. Like, I wrote a paper on 18th century ballet, and just realized that like I really miss dancing, and I needed to find a way to do it again. So when I graduated, I ended up finding some open classes and started at 23. So it really did feel like I had the basics down, and I had studied French, so that part didn't faze me. So I had a couple of advantages, but I really was a beginner at 23.
Hey you guys, I just want to quickly pop into this video to talk to those of you who are injured. And if you're not going through an injury right now, still listen up. Maybe you can tell your friends about what I'm about to share with you. So if you are going through an injury, are you just feeling lost, feeling alone, feeling misunderstood, worrying about if you're pushing yourself enough or not enough? You're maybe feeling overwhelmed and confused and wondering if you know enough to really actually have hope in a strong recovery. I completely understand that recovery is not a linear process. It is confusing at times, isolating, frustrating, and scary. And so I have designed actually an online program called the Come Back Stronger course, specifically to guide injured dancers like you through the recovery process, giving you all the strategies and support and community you need to make a strong recovery both physically and mentally. So in this program, you're going to get guidance through answering all of the questions that tend to come up for dancers, like, okay, what are the do's and don'ts of recovery straight away? So you don't have to learn the hard way and slow down your process like a lot of people like myself have done in the past. You're going to learn how to navigate the social aspect of the injury. You're going to learn how to talk to your teachers, your doctors, so that you can not only advocate for yourself, but you can have doctors and teachers advocating for you in the process. There's a whole module on how to care for your body, how to have a healthy relationship with yourself and with food, as well as a whole module on mindset, how to deal with the emotions, understandably the tough emotions that come up in the process, how to resolve the negative emotions while staying appropriately positive. There's training on how to remain confident while you're not able to do what you're used to doing. As well as a whole module on getting back in the studio and learning how to goal set appropriately, understand your body's signals, and learn how to set really healthy boundaries so you know that you're pushing yourself enough to improve, but not so much that you knock yourself back in the recovery process. So if this sounds like it would be of tremendous value to you, which I know it will be, go ahead and click the link down below to the comebackstrongercourse.com, and that's where you'll be able to learn all about what this value-packed program includes, including a Facebook page where you get to connect with other dancers going through the recovery process with you. So click the link down below. That's where you'll be able to learn all about the course and sign up. I can't wait to see you in this program, and I can't wait for your success story at the end of it. All right, guys, thank you for watching this little clip, and let's get on with the rest of the video.
Now, my second question is, what about dancing ballet really connected with you so that you're kind of able to grow this love for it?
I was thinking about this the other day. Like when I'm in class, it's actually pretty natural for me, like the expression part comes very naturally to me, and it's like happening in real time, which is crazy. Like you're hearing a melody and it's coming out, like it comes out through my body and I'm not consciously thinking about it. You know, it's like, you know, my brain knows how a phrase is going to end, even though I haven't heard that music before. And so that just kind of occurred to me recently, and I was like, that's it. That's why I'm so obsessed with this, because that's like the easiest way for me to actually feel present. Like that, I feel more present in the studio when that happens than like any other part of my life, really. But also, I think one of the biggest things I've taken away from studying ballet is discipline. I did not have the discipline that I have now. As you know, ballet is freaking difficult. Like,
so hard.
It's so hard. Like, and you know, people who've never tried it, they just don't quite get that. But it is by far the most challenging thing I've done. And so it kind of makes other things in my life seem pretty easy in comparison.
Yeah, I love that perspective shift, you know, like when you have something that's strenuous or difficult or requires a lot of focus or discipline in your life, when you see yourself accomplishing things in that arena, it's like you can look at the other things that used to bother you or intimidate you in a totally different way. What challenges have you faced in your training?
Well, there are quite a few.
Yeah.
I think like on a practical level with actual training, just having access to open classes has been a challenge for me, because I've been dancing for about 8.5 years, and while like I'll appear to be somewhat advanced in some areas, there are other things I've never tried, I've never been taught, because I've never like leveled through a curriculum. I think a lot of adults have this problem where we have these great open classes. I'm super thankful for them, but I'm not like leveling up. So there's these gaps in my training that I just have not really been able to close. And I kind of feel like I've plateaued a little bit, because it's really like up to me to fill those gaps in. So that's been a challenge.
Good insight though, because it does point to kind of a hole that there is in the industry right now. And some of it could just be from a business standpoint, like a lot of, well, every company, every school, especially small ballet schools, they are businesses. And it can be hard to, I'm sure, actually create a consistent group of students where you have, like I've taught adult classes before, and there are some students where they've been dancing their whole lives. And so they know how to do certain things, they are stronger. And then, you know, because the studio needs the business, it's also open to whoever wants to walk in. And so as a teacher, you have that conflict of, oh, well, we have to kind of slow things down for a couple weeks because Cindy over here just started and I don't
Yeah.
want her to break her leg, so that's really
Yeah.
hard. So I'm really excited
Totally get
that
that.
there are some adult ballet studios. And then I've also thought of that problem before, that dancers like yourself who want to keep progressing and learning, like, how can we start solving that problem? And there's been one idea I've almost done it as a teacher, which is to gather a group of adult dancers and just schedule some group private lessons. And they all collaborate on some steps that they want to learn, or maybe they want to actually perform or learn some choreography or work
Yeah.
in point shoes, things like that. And so
Mhm.
I know that's also not logistically a very easy thing to coordinate,
That's
but I've
great though.
started to think, like, how can we overcome this so that
Yeah.
more adult dancers do have that full experience they're looking for, especially in regards to performing. So
Mhm.
I have hope that, like,
Yeah.
hopefully as
I
ballet
love that they're
becomes more
doing that.
popular, more adults will be attracted into it, and
Right.
curricula will be built out to support yeah, their training.
I mean, it's great that people like you are thinking through this. I think a lot of teachers assume that, we're just there for a good workout and to have fun, which we
Yeah.
are, but it's like there are people like me they take it seriously. Like, I
Right.
want to be the best I can with the time that I have.
And I feel there's a kind of a misconception about adult dancers being so casual, like this assumption that an adult dancer doesn't want to actually take their technique and their training that seriously just
Right.
because they're not trying to do it as a professional.
Like, we love the teachers who are equal parts encouraging and challenging.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge difference when I have a teacher who sees potential in me that I don't think I have.
Yeah.
They're like, go for a triple pirouette, why not?
Yes.
And that's what gets you to do it. Like, you need someone to
Absolutely.
believe that you're capable of doing that. And just because we're a little older doesn't mean we can't. Like, that's when I improve the most, when I have a teacher who's like actually like preparing us as if we were going to perform. Sometimes I get sad that I've spent so many years in the studio and really have a handful of performances to show for it, and they were, not ideal situations.
Yeah.
Under rehearsed, doesn't showcase what I'm capable of, for sure. So I really appreciate it when teachers, they don't even give that caveat of like, you don't have to be ABT dancers. I'm like, don't even mention that. Like, we
Yeah.
get it. None of us
Don't
have
worry.
a delusion. Like,
Yeah.
that's a pet peeve. Like, when people are like, well, are you trying to be a professional? Because that's not a good, it's like, no, I'm not, we're not
Just
stupid.
trying to be my best. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah. And especially for pre-professional dancers watching, I think we need to kind of acknowledge, like, hey, it's what a novelty, you guys, that people actually dance because they just love it.
Right.
And going to the studio is like so exciting and
Yeah.
wonderful, and it's like the best part of your week or your day.
For sure.
I think even though there are so many challenges that come with trying to pursue it professionally, for anyone who's in that boat, who's watching, don't lose sight of that love that I think you and I are now able to have in a more like just open way, because there isn't that intense pressure. And if anything, we just put the pressure on ourselves because it's fun to push yourself. It's exciting to see how far you can go and see what you can do. So I also like that you mentioned kind of that encouragement to teachers. So hopefully if teachers are watching, they know, like, hey, give your adult students kind of that dignity of a good push and belief.
Yeah.
So hopefully those two types are watching. Oh, I can't wait to ask this one. So for I'm curious about struggles that you see kind of pre-professional, professional dancers going through, like if you notice any in particular. Are there any that you have noticed that you actually don't relate to at all as a recreational dancer?
Yeah, I think we kind of hit on it earlier, the like professional or nothing kind of mindset. that I've seen a lot of dancers have. Not everyone does, but I think it's more common for pre-professionals and professionals to be like,
Right.
I have my dancing career and then it stops. And
Yes.
like, I totally understand if someone has an injury when they
Mhm.
retire and they physically can't dance.
Right.
But I don't understand the, like, I used to be a dancer. I was a dancer, not like professional
That's
or
good.
nothing. Because for me, I'm like, I'm not stopping ever. Like, why would I I'm in
Yeah.
this for the long haul. And so for someone, I'm like, I know being a professional dancer is a super challenging career. It takes its toll. So I get that, but the way I see it is like, well, you do it because you love it, right? Because it's not like a
Yeah.
super lucrative career. You must have loved it at one point. Why would you stop after you're done professionally? Why can't you still dance recreationally? And I totally understand too that, like, there's that mental block of not being your best, like
Oh
not
yeah.
being able to do something the way you used to do it. But that's how I live my life. Like, I'm never I'm never my best. Like, I'm getting older. Like,
Yeah.
things are challenging. I think not being at your peak is a bad reason to stop.
Yeah, and I think speaking to that very strange mindset of it's all or it's nothing, you did also touch on the fear that's there for a lot of dancers, which is honestly not really thinking that we can handle looking at ourselves in the mirror if we're not as we used to be. And that
Yeah.
was so hard for me to let go of. It took such a long time for me to just enjoy dancing. And it honestly took time for me to forget how amazing it felt to be like so strong, because
Yeah.
once I was able to kind of forget that, which sounds negative, but like it kind of took that for me
Yeah.
to then just be able to say, hey, I'm just grateful that I can dance. And it also took a knee injury for me to just be grateful to walk. That sounds
Right.
so dramatic, but seriously,
No,
2 years
true.
after knee surgery, still when I'm able to run upstairs, like doing 2 stairs at a time, every time I think of that time when I couldn't walk downstairs, I had to have someone help me. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like there is that fear that I can totally empathize with that. It's hard to
Mhm.
live past your peak, but ultimately in life in general, we all peak in all different facets
Right.
of life.
You
And
kind of have to get used to it.
yeah,
Like,
and there's
I
beauty
I can
beyond it too.
understand. Yeah, I can understand that, like, because I've seen that with athletes, like in my own
Yeah.
family, that it is really hard to just do something for fun, when it's like, I'm not what I used to be. Like, so I
Yeah.
totally get that. But yeah, for me, it's like, I love dance so much. I'm not planning on stopping.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people maybe get tricked into, like, as a pre-professional, thinking that they have to do it professionally or move on to something else, when it's
Mhm.
like, no, you can still have that as a significant part of your life if you want it.
I would love to ask you about ways that you would like to see the adult ballet community grow, or certain opportunities you would like to see become available to more adult dancers.
Yeah, I think the short answer is, like, more of everything.
Yeah.
Like, more classes, more serious training.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, just for people to realize that we do take it seriously and we're there because we love this art form, just like the professionals. We're there to, like, work on our craft.
Yeah.
And so, like, the more people can realize that and want to be, come alongside us, like, the better.
Yeah.
Because um, I've met, like, some really great professional dancers who are great people and are supportive, and then I've met some who are not so supportive. And the thing about open classes is you're often, like, standing next to the bar with a professional who's done it
Yeah.
for so many years, and that changes the vibe of a class if that person isn't um, as as supportive.
I'm like absolutely eating up this point though, because I actually have never considered that,
Yeah.
except for when I've been that professional next to beginners even.
Yeah.
There was just something in my heart that didn't feel right if I kept to myself, especially for the dancers that I know. Well, I know what it's like, even as when I was a younger dancer, to see older dancers and to be like, oh, they're probably judging me, or like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I'm embarrassed to be next to them. And just by getting out as a professional and like taking Pilates classes and hearing the way that so many non-dancers would talk about dancers, like, oh, don't
Mm-hmm.
look at me, you guys, y'all are way more fit than me, or I'm just
Right.
a little old lady over here. And I would be like, wow, people really think that just because we take ourselves so seriously, we're judging everybody.
Yeah.
And so I would always try to be really cognizant of that and try to kind of break down that any concern that there might be,
Mm-hmm.
make everybody comfortable.
Yeah, that's good.
But I can totally see how that probably affects so many adult dancers. And you're right, it does ruin the vibe, honestly,
And
when
like
someone is like so self-concerned and so intimidating looking.
Yeah, and not everyone is like that. I think what I would like to see is people understanding that, like, as adult recreational dancers who have careers of their own, and like families, we're we're already like jumping through all these hurdles to even get to the studio.
Yes.
And so like we've had to overcome all of these like mental blocks sometimes of like, why am I even doing this? I should be home cooking dinner, And so I think like having more people appreciate that we're there because we love it. We're sacrificing our time, just like a professional sacrifices social life,
So much.
We're also sacrificing things because we have this shared love of dance.
Yeah.
And so I think there could be more like sharing and, like I said, coming alongside all levels of dancers.
It's good, but I especially want to like talk to the serious dancers who are watching right now. We can do so much better to integrate the communities like you were talking about, to reach out to the adult dancer next to you. Like if you're a professional and you go take class, be nice and welcoming to your bar mates.
One thing I would like people to realize is that the adults in the studio classes are like also the ones helping keep ballet alive. Like,
word. Yes.
I mean, it's an elitist art form. Like, I hate to say it, but that's the truth. And that's not going to fly in today's culture. Like,
no.
In order to survive, it has to evolve. And I think we're like adult recreational dancers are doing a lot to help that process. We're supporting the studios. We're buying tickets for performances. I think there's this huge like online presence that wasn't there like 6 years ago. Like this group of people, we're doing a lot to keep ballet relevant and acting as kind of a bridge between the professional world and then non-dancers. It's like taking people to the ballet and exposing more people to it.
Man, this has been so thought-provoking. I would love to finish up by asking, well, before I ask you about your book and just where people can find you on the internet, which of course I will have linked below and all that. But I would like to ask if you have particular advice or encouragement for dancers who are, or for adults that are considering getting into ballet and maybe they're intimidated, understandably, or perhaps they have already started and they want to get more serious about it. What insights do you have?
So I think I remember being intimidated going to my first class at 23, even though I had some experience. I had, a couple of advantages coming in, but I felt like I wasn't going to belong there, that maybe I shouldn't go. But I remember like I called ahead and talked to the receptionist a little bit, and she was like the most welcoming person, and just asked her some questions like, is it okay if I wear this? What can I expect? And it really like put my mind at ease. Like I was really excited to go after that. So I think talking to someone is always good. And if you're like already in the studio and you have a minute before class, like maybe just talking to someone at the bar, like to get, I don't know, that just kind of gets rid of some nerves, at least for
I
me.
feel the same. Yeah. I did that at auditions all the time.
Yeah.
It was like my coping mechanism. I would be like, hi,
Right.
what's your name? Where are you from? What's your life story? Ugh.
But on a practical level, I would say, like, you can research class levels at your studio, but more often than not, I see studios offer beginning ballet and it's not actually beginning ballet.
Oh my gosh, I talk about this all the time. I like actually get angry when I've gone as a professional dancer to beginner classes, or even recently when I moved to Austin, I would go, I shouldn't say the name of the place, but like I would go to take class there, and I would think, wow, this is a beginner class and I am struggling, like this is hard. And then I would think about all the poor people around me. Like there was this one lady who this was her first class ever. And she rolls up and she is like not having a good time. No one reached out to her. The teacher's just like, oh, well, okay, she's struggling. I'm like having to talk to her saying like, okay, here's how you do this. Go, go, go. And I'm like trying to not be rude, talking while the teacher's talking. But this lady is like so flustered.
No.
And so I'm like, wow, studios.
Yeah.
Do not false advertise.
Well, that's such a nightmare. Like I hate the thought of people like finally getting over the fear and trying it and then like being in that situation. That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my advice is like figure out if it's actually beginning or if it's going to be, you know, a little more advanced than you think, because I've seen it time and time again. People come in and they think they're going to learn, you know, the 5 positions and like super basics, and really most beginning classes are not going to go over that. So maybe do a little research, and if it is not like a basic class, like, you know, get on YouTube.
YouTube.
You know, find some sort of tutorial and get at least the basic terminology down.
Yeah, and there are books for this too, like the Gail Grant book. I will try to remember to put some links to like Amazon books on Amazon or something, because they're like pretty cheap. You could get used books and just like flip through the pictures, familiarize yourself. I know that's like tedious, but
at least you have a leg up.
Difference. Yeah.
Or like one of those video glossaries. I can't remember which company, they actually take video of steps.
That's amazing.
So like maybe spend some time studying up on that before you go, just so that you have a bit of a leg up.
Yeah, or like a mental frame around what is about to happen. So we should probably wrap this up.
So
it's
funny.
Such a good conversation. And I would love to ask a little bit about your novel so that people know where they can find it and what it's about. It's called Cantique.
Yes. So it's a novel about an adult ballet student who stumbles upon a piece of sheet music from a long lost ballet that happens to be based on Song of Solomon. So it's a love story, not a romance novel, but it has a love story in it. And so it's kind of about the development of this new ballet. And it's just kind of a fun, quirky, lighthearted look at recreational ballet. So yeah, my website is joannamarshbooks.com. So you can find a link to it there.
Awesome. I will be sure to link that. And then also we need to follow you at Ballet Librarian on Instagram. Awesome.
So yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Ballet Librarian, and then joannamarshbooks.com.
Cool.
And I have an author newsletter that people can subscribe to just to stay updated with projects I'm doing.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and your fun stories. I loved hearing just from your perspective how you see the ballet world, and my perspective has been so, I think, expanded, challenged in some ways, and I'm really excited for people to watch this. So thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thanks for having me. This has been really fun.
It was very fun. So thank you, and bye everyone. Thank you for watching. If you've made it to this point, bless you. All right. Yeah, we should do a wave.
Bye.
Bye.